Planned Parenthood is encouraging men to get screened for cervical cancer. A city in LA County is canceling 4th of July fireworks to coddle illegal aliens, and New York City is about to see what deranged socialism really looks like. It's time for my Losers of the Week. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the show on YouTube at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. The show starts now. Wild Week is almost in the books. Broken brain Democrats really have outdone themselves, I'll tell you what. Let's start with one of their favorite enterprises, Planned Parenthood. So over the last couple of years, Democrats have been asked to define woman, and they can't do it, mostly for emotional reasons, or so I thought. But come to find out, they really don't know what a woman is, and neither does Planned Parenthood, because they're encouraging men to get screened for cervical cancer. The Planned Parenthood branch of Southern New England is celebrating Men's Health Month by encouraging them to screen a body part they do not have for a cancer they cannot get. Of course, they are referring to trans men, which are actually women and therefore do have a cervix. I'd also point out how disturbing the photo on their educational flyer is. Yeah, that's a topless woman with mastectomy scars, or as they hope you'll call it, a trans man. This is not only delusional, woke, and stupid, it's also supremely insensitive to women who undergo a mastectomy because they have breast cancer, not because they think they are men. It's sick, and it's wrong, and it actually makes my skin crawl. But speaking of sick and wrong, my next loser this week is the entire hellhole city of LA, and of course, its leadership. Yes, you're reading this correctly. LA County's city of Bell Gardens will be canceling its 4th of July fireworks celebration to aid and protect illegal alien invaders who have no right to be here. Isn't this just perfectly symbolic of the Democrat Party and these deep blue hellholes? They will cancel a celebration of America to comfort non-Americans. It's un-American, it's insulting, and it's so LA. Gross. And the only city more ick than LA is New York City. That city takes the top prize on my loser list this week for very obvious and unsettling reasons. As I'm sure you've heard, they chose this Muslim socialist who wants to abolish the police and ICE, among many other disturbing things, as their Democrat mayoral pick. New York, are you kidding me? This is the best you could do? Like I've said before, are you masochists or just not that smart? I don't care how many degrees y'all have either. In fact, maybe that's part of the problem. The overly educated, out of touch academic Marxists are the ones destroying America city by city. And let me add, I think it's a waste of time for conservatives and sane people to try to save these hellholes like New York City or Los Angeles. They're too far gone. Instead, we should be dedicating all of our energy into making red states redder and pushing out Democrat officials in red states, like here in Nashville. We must save ourselves first. And those are my losers of the week. Joining me now is culture commentator and host of the Kylie Jean Show, Kylie Jean Tannehill. All right, let's go to the losers first. Where do we start? Maybe with Planned Parenthood. Now, I already have low confidence in Planned Parenthood. I wouldn't expect anything better out of that organization. But when you show an it with mastectomy scars and you say, screen for cervical cancer to celebrate Men's Health Month, that's pretty much peak woke, I think.
Oh, it's really, really sad because it's the ultimate dysmorphia. It's a ton of delusion, and they're really preying on both men and women.
Yeah.
And so it's creating a massive culture problem. It also just feels really old at this point. Can you get more creative? I don't think they can. And so they're prying on young women who are trying to transform themselves into young men, and it's causing a lot of issues. Plus, it's just tacky. Like, that poster makes me so sad.
It's gross. It's like this ambiguous figure thing. And like I said, I actually think it's really insensitive to show a depiction of a woman with scars. And that's scars because you had an elective surgery to remove your breast because you think you're a man, not because you've undergone a mastectomy for cancer reasons or preventative measures for cancer. I think that's actually really, really insulting to people that have had to undergo those kind of surgeries.
No, I totally agree. And you've seen how far the pendulum has swung. Think about when we were growing up and how it was probably women who had elective surgeries for different types of enhancements. And now we're going completely the opposite way. And so it's very interesting to see the way that they're attaching culture in that. And it's very insensitive.
It's insensitive. It's stupid. Los Angeles is stupid. New York City is stupid. As I said in my open there, I'm really firm on this.
Yeah.
I don't think these cities are savable. And I've actually caught some heat on social media because people are saying, oh, that's cowardly. We cannot give up LA. We cannot give up New York City. We must fight. I love the idea of that. I think it sounds great to say on television or social media, but I really am of the belief that dedicating energy into trying to reform those places, at least now, I think it's a waste of time.
I can totally see why you would think it's a waste of time. And there's part of me that wants to say, I believe that. There's also part of me that still has hope. I think that there needs to be a completely different cleansing and reestablishment that's happening. It's kind of with Reformation, right? Whenever you're reforming something, you're not worrying about fixing the old, you're establishing the new. So I think when you look at these pillar cities that are leaders in our nation and really around the world, you have to look at what are the elements that are making them lead. But we go back to the root system. What made these such successful cities? I mean, California is a staple state in our nation. Where California goes, the nation really goes in a lot of areas. So I think that's where...
For the worst, though.
For the worst,
let's think
used to
about
be
it.
For the better.
Mail-in ballots, that started in California. The whole trans LGBTQ insanity, that started in California. Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Gavin Newsom. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Maxine Waters, all from California. So yes, it's obviously an important state. I don't want to write off the whole state.
Totally.
But I think Los Angeles and San Francisco, I don't know.
No, I agree. I totally agree with what you're saying. Also, it's been a leader when it comes... Let's look historically. It's a leading state when it comes to agriculture. It's a leading state when it comes to our economy, when it even comes to family structures and how they're built. It's the backbone where people went during the entire Dust Bowl to California, and they built an entire economic system that wasn't possible for them before. So the root system of California being a state where you can really come and make your American dream come true, I do think that's still there. Now, LA has become a sanctuary place that Gavin Newsom has created for illegal aliens. He's completely ridded it of our American values and our American culture. So that is where the problem lies. Right now, this is a huge culture battle. We see that in New York, too. I don't think what people understand when it comes to Muslim culture is that they are going to abide by the rules of the Brotherhood, always, over the law of the land. So that's where people have to step back and recognize that this goes so much bigger than just being mayor of a city. What's the bigger plan here? I just got back from Europe. You're seeing where Muslims are running in elected positions, and it is causing that entire nation to absolutely crumble. It's a big problem. They're not going to make it a big PR issue, but it is when you go to the country and you see the people who have been trying to save it. So when you look at America and recognize America as the leading nation, New York is a leading city, what is happening here? It seems like there's a bigger long-term play that is at work. You want to know why? The Muslim culture is looking for a multi-generational reward. They don't need to see it in this lifetime, but they do need to plug into the play of the game. That's why the culture of religion is important. That's why you have to look at these value systems and go, does it line up with our American values? Are we thinking multi-generationally as Americans? These are really, really important things for the American people to assess, that think beyond the moment. So when it comes to New York and when it comes to California, yes, have they been leading in a lot of negative? Absolutely. Is there still hope to see those things cleaned up and rooted and reestablished? I personally think there is.
I don't think we should put energy into saving them until they completely collapse, and then maybe go in and pick up the pieces and hope that you can say, see what you've done, now we'll help you. But to your point, though, I think it's an important one that you made about New York City. And there's been a lot of discussion over this Zohran Mamdani, whatever, and about his religion. And I've seen a lot of articles from Politico and others, Axios, saying, Republicans and conservatives go after him for being a Muslim, attacking his religion. So here's the thing, and I've been commenting on all of those things. People have their thoughts about the Muslim religion and Sharia. So I think that that's a worthwhile discussion. I will also say this. We're actually discussing, most conservatives are actually discussing comments that he has himself made. It's not just that he's a Muslim. It's that he's had music videos that are praising those that have funded Hamas. It's that you've said horrible, disgusting, anti-Semitic things, that you would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he stepped foot in New York City. And many other things, by the way. So it's not this easy headline of, oh, they're attacking him because he's a Muslim. No, we're attacking him because of the things that he has proudly said, unapologetically said, and I think we have a right to. And that's deeply disturbing when it comes to a potential leader of America's largest and maybe at least once was greatest city.
Oh, absolutely. We have to be able to evaluate people by their words and by their actions, because those reveal the true values in which they live by. So it's extremely important that we assess the exact things that he says, the music videos that he's put out there, the threats actually that he has made. It's important that we look at that because it's going to play into the way that he leads. If we miss that, then that's foolishness on our behalf. So the city of New York has to slow down. They have to look at this, and they have to make some pretty big decisions here. I'd also really be curious on the money trail that's pushing them out. It's like those kind of things that are really big revealers of an ultimate agenda that goes beyond his position right now in the moment. It's really important to evaluate.
Also, poor people did not vote for him.
No.
It was rich white liberals who
Which
voted
is
for him.
fascinating. That seems to be a common trend, huh?
Black and Hispanics in New York City did not vote for him. Now, some did, of course, but he didn't do as well with those demographics. But that was apparently who he was catering to, because he wants socialism, he wants free everything.
Yeah.
So very telling on that point. The last thing on him that I think is important, since we're in this cultural discussion here, I've had a lot of people, also on X, even conservatives, say, listen, this guy is a socialist, but he's not a Muslim fundamentalist, whatever, because he says things like the queer revolution or queer this, that, and that obviously goes against the tenets of Islam.
It does, yeah.
Because we know what happens to those individuals in Muslim countries. However, people are also failing to understand, willfully or otherwise, that this whole alignment between BLM, Marxism, Islamic fundamentalism in a lot of parts, they are willing to say things like the queer revolution or whatever, even though it goes against Islam, because it's for the greater good of this alignment between radical Islam, between LGBTQ, BLM, all of these things that are breaking up the American family, American traditions. They are okay with pushing aside maybe a tenet of fundamentalist Islam if it contributes to the greater good. So it frustrates me when people say, oh, don't worry about it, he's for the queers. Is he really?
No, you have to look at it. You nailed it. It really comes down to the family ecosystem. So if you can tear down the American family, then all of a sudden you're creating a lot more internal chaos and people who aren't as resolute or confident in who they are. And if you have people who are wavering, they're searching for their purpose, they're looking for who they are, and they're grasping onto these things, then all of a sudden you've created an identity crisis. If you have an identity crisis happening within the nation, you have controllable people. That is what they're looking for. They're looking for very controllable, emotionally led people. And a lot of that goes down to the family ecosystem. So you nailed it. You just laid out perfectly the circle that's all working together for a higher, greater agenda.
It's a Marxist agenda, by the way. It's
it
beyond just socialism. This is Marxism, is what it really is. President Trump called that out. So caution to New York. If they choose to go this way, they're going to see what all of this looks like up close and personal, and they're going to be kicking themselves, and all of their industry is going to leave, because these big financial institutions, they are not going to stick around if he implements half the things that he says he's going to implement.
Well, he only won in the 7% overall with Cuomo anyway, so there's still hope.
Yeah.
There's still hope, but people are going to have to really, really dig in and evaluate it.
And I love now that even all the other options outside of Curtis Sliwa, who I love, they're all bad options.
Yeah.
But compared to this guy, they look like good options, and we're rooting for them because he is that bad.
Yeah,
it's
true.
sad that it's come to that point. I really hope that Curtis can pull it off. I don't have a lot of hope, just because a Republican is just not going to do well in a place like that. But there's hope. As you said, hope. I will observe the hope from afar.
Yeah, there you go.
Or when I have to go to Fox News headquarters. But I will not live in that hellhole, because I won't open myself up to that kind of suffering. I want to move on, though, to some other idiots. Let's play Nicole Wallace. She is an idiot, and she is crying at the thought of illegal aliens being deported. Let's take a listen.
I remember the first day I read about the deportations to El Salvador of the alleged Tren de Aragua members, for whom no evidence was ever presented that they had anything to do with Tren de Aragua. And I remember saying to Mike, I wish I didn't feel so gutted, and I wish I could stop thinking about these guys being scared in El Salvador. And then I was somewhere. I was in Westchester. It's usually a baseball trip that has me. I don't know what I was doing, but we stopped to get something to eat, and I saw the paid ads that Homeland Security was doing in front of the deportees who were now prisoners at CCOT, and I was gutted. And I think I'm sometimes scared by how much anguish I feel over how they're treating human beings.
So I'm a little gutted that she's gutted over criminal illegal aliens, many of them that are from El Salvador, by the way, being taken back to El Salvador and put in prison there. That guts her. I have never seen her react with that kind of emotion to any American who's ever suffered, especially those that have suffered at the hands of illegal aliens. It's remarkable. This is the new Democrat Party. It really is.
Yeah, no, I want to see them actually infuriated and gutted by the people that are being raped, that are being murdered, that have huge backlash because of the illegal aliens that are coming into our cities, our border towns. It's a really big problem. I don't know. To me, it just all seems like really good acting at this point, and it just seems disingenuous when you look at their face. I can't judge if like maybe it does pull on her heartstrings. I think the left does a really good job at manipulating emotion, but true love has a boundary line of truth in it. And the truth is that in order to actually love our nation and to welcome people to come in legally, that we want to contribute to our country, because we have incredible things built in our nation by legal aliens that come in here and that make America their home. They contribute to society, and they do a really good job in that. There's a process. The illegal aliens, they're causing intentional damage. That is what they're choosing to do. They did that back home in their nation. They're not shifting their mindset to adapt to our culture. They're expecting us to embrace their culture, and that's just not going to work.
It's not going to work, and we shouldn't be expected to do that either. It's unfortunate that that's where we are. Let's take a look. Speaking of the fake news, Nicole Wallace and her ilk, President Trump calls them out all the time, and very blatantly, and then they shudder, like, oh, God, how dare you call us a name? They call the man Hitler, okay? They call him an existential threat. They call him a Nazi. But they are so taken aback when he calls out fake news, calls them scum. Let's take a listen to this.
This was an unbelievable hit by genius pilots and genius people in the military, and they're not being given credit for it because we have scum that's in this group, and not all of you are. You had some great reporters, but you have scum. CNN is scum. MSDNC is scum. The New York Times is scum. They're bad people. They're sick. And what they've done is they're trying to make this unbelievable victory into something less. The original word that I use, I guess it got us in trouble because it's a strong word. It was obliteration.
I think he's right, though. And when you have these leaks coming out to try to undermine American success and to degrade what our men and women were able to do with those strikes, I think he's right to call them scum. And I don't think people should be, oh my God, scum, you called us scum. Again, they literally call him Hitler.
No, I think that's actually like a really light nickname that he's giving them. And it's the truth. The reality is journalism has kind of died in the way that it once was. And you have huge propaganda machines. And it's just not, it's on both sides. You know, you have to be able to look and be able to see who is actually doing their research, who is going down to the truth, and who's relaying the truth to the American people to make decisions on their own. The problem is with exactly who we called out, MSNBC, CNN, it's the exact same script. And they have one agenda, and they are exactly trying to do what they say. They're trying to make Trump look like a Hitler. All of his decisions, they're trying to make it look like it's just this incredible agenda to obliterate everybody else, make him a powerhouse. That's just not the case. He has a multi-generational game of making America a healthy nation again for my children, their children, and their children's children. So he has a right to call it out for what it is. Is it propaganda? 100%. Are they trying to brainwash the American people? Absolutely. They don't give him choice. They don't present the facts. They present a very biased point of view.
I love how in a matter of days they went from, oh my God, President Trump started World War III by dropping bombs on Iran, to shortly thereafter it was, the bombs are fine, but the bombs actually didn't do much. Right. So I love how they made that leap. It was like World War III, and now it's like, oh, you barely even did anything. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe it's because they think of everything through the lens of how much they hate Donald Trump, not through reality or love of country. They need help. There's someone else who needs a lot of help. I have a couple of Jasmine Crockett clips. I think I'm going to start, since we were just talking about Iran. Let's talk about her. She thinks that she should be calling the shots. Let's take a listen to Jasmine and her eloquence.
I didn't know if anybody could text me, call me, signal me, nothing. I knew nothing. And we walk in and my heart sank. Because the idea of starting a war, it just ain't a good idea. And to sit and be one of 435 in the House, and to understand enough about the Constitution to the extent that I'm the one that's supposed to make the decision, or at least get a vote.
I can't imagine a world in which she's making any important decisions. I know that she's a member of Congress. To my knowledge, she has not passed a bill. I don't think she has any legislative success, thank goodness. But this woman's sitting there, and of course she has to drop the F-bomb. And, our president dropped the F-bomb the other day, but he drops the F-bomb out of supreme frustration.
Yeah.
She drops it because she thinks it makes her look cool and sound tough, and she does it all the time. But what do you think the mullahs, the ayatollahs, the ayatollah and the mullahs in Iran, what do you think they think when they hear Jasmine Crockett, congresswoman from Texas?
I just think it's a really good central casting call, if you ask me. It just seems like it's completely surface level. I'm also very curious in that clip that you played. It looks absolutely beautiful. I'd love to know who's in that room. I would love to know the demographic that she's speaking to, because I think that would be really telling as to how she's getting funded to where she is, why she's choosing to use the language that she uses. She's trying to represent her demographic, her people, and it's just lifeless. It absolutely holds no weight. And so I think anybody who looks at her just kind of thinks it's a joke at this point. Seems like a really hilarious casting call.
And she went to a very expensive private school. I believe it was an all-girls Catholic school. So the fact that she's come out with that mouth, I'm not saying that you can't go to an all-girls Catholic school and come out with a mouth like that, but it feels very feigned to me that she's trying to connect with Black women that maybe grew up in the inner city or in urban environments, and she's trying to connect with them, but it's very phony. And it's just as phony as if I tried to speak that way to connect with Black women who grew up in urban areas, but I would be called out for it. She does it, though, and she's hailed for it because she's so authentic. She's not. She's an idiot, but I hope that she continues to run for things because I think it helps us. I played one Jasmine clip. I think we got to play the next one. Here she is, looking like a whole big bird, trying to call out Melania Trump, her acting or her modeling skills, and calling into question how she got into this country. Let's take a look again at Miss Jasmine Crockett.
Let me remind y'all that Melania, the First Lady, a model, and when I say model, I'm not talking about Tyra Banks, Cindy Crawford, or Naomi Campbell level, applied for and was given an EB1 visa. And what that stands for is an Einstein visa. Now, y'all that don't know, let me tell you how you receive an Einstein visa. You're supposed to have some sort of significant achievement, like being awarded a Nobel Peace Prize or a Pulitzer, being an Olympic medalist, or having other sustained extraordinary abilities and success in sciences, arts, education, business, or athletics. Last time I checked, the First Lady had none of those accolades under her belt. It doesn't take an Einstein to see that the math ain't mathin' here.
I can't imagine sitting there and talking about our First Lady that way. I'm not surprised, but, what do you think about that?
Honestly, it's so disrespectful. It kind of just makes me feel more sad that that's the level of leadership that we have in place. That it doesn't matter if you are completely in disagreement with somebody who holds the office of president and of the First Lady. You should never be speaking like that when you're in a position of leadership. So really, it's just a super bad look on her. It's an incredibly terrible look on the Democrat Party. But the reality is that's the highest level they're pumping out.
Yeah.
It's sad.
I'd also say that there are many people from foreign nations who do get visas to come here to work here because they are celebrities. They come in. I mean, it happens on a daily basis. So for her to say, well, actually, Melania, she had no reason to be here. Melania Trump, not only is she timeless beauty,
Gorgeous.
she also has had, because of her modeling career.
Yeah.
She is a model. She was a model. She was a working model. So for Jasmine Crockett to sit there and question why she was led into this country and try to use it as an excuse to import the third world because Melania came, and of course she's not Tyra Banks or Naomi Campbell. I mean, again.
Two different stories, that's for sure. She had a very successful modeling career. Very easy for anybody to look it up, very easy for anybody to read Melania's book. So for her to take jabs like that, again, it's just completely lifeless, and it's a terrible look on her. It's like getting the low-hanging fruit.
Well, that's all Jasmine Crockett can do.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a cultural thing in sports, because this is Outkick.
Yeah.
So ESPN is launching an all-female show called Vibe Check. I believe it's a subscription. You have to subscribe on Disney Plus. There's the banner there. Streamed exclusively on Disney Plus. So I guess you got to pay for it. You got to either have Disney Plus or you got to pay for it to watch this. Now, listen, I love when women are broadcasters. They're sports broadcasters. Erin Andrews, Michelle Tafoya, many that do a great job at this. However, for ESPN, which is struggling a little bit anyway because they've gone so woke.
Yeah.
For them to think that anybody wants to watch an all-female show for all females to talk about sports, I'm not sure that the audience is there. Would you watch that show?
I wouldn't watch that show. I can't imagine I don't know who their target demographic is, but based off of their graphic, I don't think a lot of guys are going to want to watch that show either. So it just seems like it's a complete miss on my part. And I grew up love watching sports. Like I watched so many sports commentators. It was one of my favorite things to do. And I don't think I would watch that.
I don't think men like to watch women talk about sports.
I don't think so either. And there's just some things, let the guys be guys in that. Personally, I think, and there's amazing women that are in there too, but also like it's just a miss. It just looks like a bunch of butchy girls, honestly.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Sideline reporters, things like that, I think they do a great job. And I do think that men like to look at them because we know they do. I mean, your Aaron Andrews, whatever, they love to look at them. And I think that there's certainly a place for female sports broadcasters. Don't get me wrong on that. I think, though, creating a show of all women because you want to have like an all-woman show and your ESPN is mostly a male audience,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where your business sense came in there. I just don't. I don't want to watch women talk about sports. I don't want to watch all those women talk about sports. I don't like to watch women play sports, if I'm being honest. I don't.
Yeah,
and I know
I don't
people
know many
think,
that do.
oh, Caitlin Clark's going to save the WNBA. Here's my unpopular opinion. I don't think she's going to save the WNBA. I think people like to watch Caitlin Clark right now because it's new and she's good and she's fresh and people like to, watch her defy the odds. I think in 2 years, even though Caitlin Clark is an amazing women's basketball player, I don't think people are going to be watching the WNBA for her or for anybody else. That's my unpopular opinion, but I stand by it.
I think that women's sports is extremely important, and for women to be playing women's sports only. The only way that I can see an all women's like broadcasting sports work is if there's like a really good vibe, they have a very unique angle, and there's a fun twist to it. If it's pure commentating, I guess we'll find out how it goes. I can't believe that it would really be that successful. And now the WNBA, I mean, I don't know if that's ever actually had a real fan base, so we'll see how that goes.
And women, again, I know that the left likes to call us out. Well, oh, you want women's sports to be for women, but you don't want to watch women's sports. Okay, yeah, exactly. I think that women should be able to, especially in grade school, middle school, high school, college, women's sports need to be for women. They need to have that opportunity to play, to achieve, to get scholarships, and now we got NIL. They need to be able to make money. They make money. We know that they do. However, that doesn't mean that I need to watch the WNBA. I just want women to be able to have their own sports without having to look at a ding-a-ling.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that I need to watch the WNBA. There's nothing that's going to make me watch the WNBA.
No, hey, I'm right there with you. I've never watched the WNBA, nor will I ever watch the WNBA. It's not really my thing. I think women's sports is important because it's developing incredible leadership skills in young girls. It's developing them for later in life if their world goes beyond that sport as a career. So that's why women's sports is extremely instrumental. We don't want men in it. We don't want men dominating it. It's important for girls to have that. But again, from an entertainment factor, it's not my thing.
I just don't like to watch women. Here's the deal. And people are like, well, they're catfighting now, so people will watch it because they will fight each other. And they have been. That's probably strategic on their part, honestly, because that's when we're watching clips of the WNBAs when they're attacking Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
That's when you see the clips. You don't see the clips when it's just them playing. You don't. So maybe that's a strategy. Maybe they fight each other, and maybe they're doing it on purpose. I think there's a conspiracy theory here.
No. I think you're right. They're definitely. Do you remember when like women's like flag football lingerie was the thing?
Well, yeah, and I can understand why that was popular because, again, you had hot women in lingerie. Men will watch that.
Right, exactly. So they're trying to just do everything clicky. And the sad thing is, in both cases, they're using women wrongly. Yeah. They're using it for clicks wrongly. They're using it objectively in that way. So I think you're exactly right. It's one of those moments you got to step back and look what's the bigger picture here.
I said it to Clay Travis on X. I like to watch women fight on Bravo. I like to watch The Housewives. I don't need to watch them in a jersey and pants down to their knees fighting. Yeah, that's not doesn't do it for me, but that's just me. So,
hey, I'm right there with you. I got no disagreements on that.
The last thing I want to talk about, actually not the last thing, but one of the last things, we were talking about immigration, so we're going to take a hard turn from WNBA. We're going to go back to immigration because this one's just too good to miss. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, his wife, who filed not one but two, at least, protective orders against him, feared for her life around him, was abused by him, by her own admission. She is now, I think she's being paid, but she is now really distraught that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was kidnapped and they missed their wedding anniversary. Take a look.
It's been 106 days since he was abducted by the Trump administration and separated from our family. Over 3 months, We've had to stand and plead for his liberation. He missed birthdays, graduations, and Father's Day. And today, he misses our wedding anniversary. I find myself again torn from my children's, traveling back to Nashville to fight for Kilmar's freedom. Instead of celebrating our love surrounding by families, I'm here. Yet I'm not alone. Today, in honor of Kilmar and our wedding anniversary, I will celebrate our fight and the fight for all those who stood with us and refused to give up. We will not stop until my husband is free. Kilmar, if you can hear me, I want you to know that all these hardships have only strengthened our love and deepened our faith in God. Our children are waiting for that call, knowing that you're on your way home to them. Kilmar should have never been taken away from us. This fight has been the hardest thing in my life.
Harder than when he beat you? Okay, first of all, I didn't even know that was in Nashville.
Yeah.
Get the F out of Nashville.
Yeah.
I'll also say this. This is not our problem. We don't want this crap. Do not put these people in Nashville, okay? But we know that that is because he has a very credible human trafficking charge here in Tennessee, because we saw the body cam footage of here in Tennessee of him in a vehicle with, I believe it was 8 people.
Yeah.
They had no luggage. And they couldn't decide where they were going, and nobody in there spoke English. And we're seeing, now that we dig deep into this, there's probably a lot of other instances that could be chalked up to human trafficking with this gentleman. But for her to sit there, I've said this before, someone's paying her. She's getting paid by some NGO, some leftist organization, because I understand that there are some women that choose to stay with their husband if they've been beaten. But you cannot go from, I believe it was 2020 or 2021, saying, I fear for my life, get this man away from me, to daddy needs to come home to celebrate our anniversary. I'm sorry. To use a word from Jasmine Crockett, the math is not mathing here on this woman.
The math is not math, and I would say that that is exactly correct. You know, the sad thing is we can look throughout history, especially within, I think, this last 10 years for sure, and see situations just like this, where I think you're definitely onto something with there could be some payment in there. They look for really... They look for stories that are going to touch the hearts of American people, because who is not going to feel compassion for somebody whose father is taken away, abducted by Trump?
I feel me. I don't feel any compassion for illegal aliens that are credibly accused of being gang members. Zero compassion.
I'm there with you. I feel the exact same way, but they're trying to go to the people who've bought into the deception. So if they can weasel their way into people who've already cracked open the door to deception, then they're trying to do an emotional appeal. Now, the best thing is when you're tapped into discernment and you recognize this is really easy gameplay. I know exactly what's going on. They're trying to manipulate, and they're trying to pull a huge card. To use the word abducted by Trump, that is strong language that was premeditated in her script. This is exactly what it is. It's a script.
Abducted by Trump. You have at least 2 protective orders against your husband. Your ex-husband also has a protective order because he said in his filing that he didn't want his children to be around Kilmar Abrego Garcia because he was a gang member.
Right.
So the fact that they're still going back to daddy missed birthdays, and again, we go back to this other thing too, and this really pisses me off. I get really fired up when we have to, and we're supposedly made to feel bad for her because her husband missed Father's Day and birthdays and their wedding anniversary. Again, I go back to criminal illegal aliens, Tren de Aragua, MS-13 members, or just your run-of-the-mill criminal illegal aliens who have raped and murdered American girls, bashed their heads in with a rock. And yet they parade this woman out. We're supposed to feel sorry because Kilmar missed their anniversary?
Yeah. No, actually, I really hope that you pointed out, too, that it's in Nashville, Tennessee. I really hope that our governor starts to take a really good look at this, because Nashville actually has one of the largest human trafficking problems in the nation because of where we're positioned. So the fact that this is brought into the light is a really good thing for our state, a really good thing for our city, because we need to take this into evaluation. And we need to look at the fact that they're making really, really light of the real issue. And the real issue is that our young men and our young girls are getting trafficked, they're getting sexually objectified, and that it's a big problem within our state, in our own backyard. So the fact that they would take this mom, this wife, and they're really just using her for a complete PR stunt. We need to look behind the deeper issue here. So I do hope that Tennessee takes a good look at this, because it's a big issue.
Our governor needs to step up.
Yep.
In a big way.
Yes.
Because we have a rogue mayor here, too, who's essentially...
Don't even get me started on Freddie.
who's essentially doxing federal agents, by the
Yes.
way, putting them in danger. And I know our Senator Marsha Blackburn has been outspoken about this, and we've got, you know, our congressman being outspoken about it. I've yet to hear our governor get really tough on this, so he needs to step up to the plate. I would also say, back to the original point we started with,
Yes.
focus our energy into making Tennessee redder.
Yes.
Get rid of these blue specks in Memphis and Chattanooga and Nashville. That's where all of our attention should lie. The same thing with Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas is a blue speck in a red state. Austin.
Yep.
I think we focus all of our efforts into making these states as red as possible.
You got to flip the cities. Those major cities have become a huge melting pot. You have people that have come from California, New York, Chicago, Denver, and they're flooding to these cities that are popping off right now. But again, they're bringing their belief system and they're expecting us to adopt that. Tennesseans are incredible people. We have an amazing culture here. It's really an incredible opportunity for us to step up in a time of leadership. And I agree. Our governor's given a position where he has an incredible backbone that right now is flopping. So he needs to stand up straight and he needs to speak into these things. And Freddie's unhinged. I don't want this guy DJing at my parties. I want him to be a freaking leader.
Yeah.
And that's what we're supposed to do. So we're coming into midterms. We're coming into some time with some evaluation. And I really, really hope that the people of Davidson County, that here in Nashville, Tennessee, that we step up and we show up and we choose real leadership, because this city is a very important city. What happens in Nashville actually dictates a lot of federal decisions that are happening.
Right.
It's a city of leadership. We're rising in economic power. We're rising in stature. And so people need to take a good hard look that it's not just a place to come and have fun. It's a place to come and build a life, to live out your dreams. And in order to do that, we have to have proper leadership.
We do, and having unfettered illegal immigration
It's gotta
flowing
go.
into our state when we're the bachelorette capital of the world is very concerning to
Yes.
me. We don't need the Abrego Garcias here, by the way. Get out. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
we had
thanks for
such a
having me.
wonderful conversation. That is going to do it for this Thursday episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. Please be sure to catch the episode tomorrow, dropping, of course, 1 p.m. Eastern. Deep dive interview with a counterterrorism expert on everything you need to know and understand about Sharia, Iran, and the threat. You can also catch full episodes of the show on Outkick and Fox Nation. Please do like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless. Take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.